opposites as far as the personality department goes, which just makes it that much more interesting. Also, as far as deck lineups go, we saw Hatul go up against an aggressive lineup in his first matchup. And BloodTrail's got pretty much the exact opposite with Malagos Druid, Death Rattle Hunter, and even Warlock as his 3 decks with the Shadowwalk Shaman ban. Hatul coming in with Control Priest, Spell Hunter, and Big Druid.
And Odd Warrior gets banned again. So twice in this event, we've seen Hatul with double Faceless Manipulator, double
Malagos Druid matchups against Odd Warrior are not that great.
Yeah, they can get pretty tough.
Especially the Malagos Druid.
BloodTrail does have a Tyrantus in his deck, but a lot of times against Odd Warrior, you need a bit of an explosive start, and the big reason is just the armor total. They can actually just get outside of the range of the amount of damage that you can deal just by pressing a tank up button every single turn, some shield blocks in there. Although, it's important to note, Hatul does not have shield block in that deck.
Nope, there's Rabid Worgen instead, which sometimes is an inclusion, but he's got double Iron Beak Owl. Frothing Berserker as well could be considered an inclusion, but no more talking about that deck. It's banned.
No more.
That's enough.
I'm sick of it. Will somebody shut that talk about the Odd Warrior up? Yeah, I'll mention to be quiet, TJ.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thanks for the reminder.
I got a little carried away.
Yeah, it sounded exactly like me, but it was exactly like TJ.
Hatul with a pair of animal companions.
Yeah, Hatul, one of the few players who's played Spell Hunter, I'd say, to a successful degree in quite some time. The deck is, was mocked when To My Side and Rockdalar were spoiled. When they were shown as cards as that set was releasing, people went, Hunter deck with no minions, that's crazy! And then it turned out it was actually just pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, since then, it's been stifled. People have realized that it's okay, but it's not necessarily the strongest thing. You need like a very specific type of field for it to be effective.
Yeah, it's much better against aggressive decks. It's the Hunter deck that's better against aggressive decks. But a lot of times if you're building an anti-aggro lineup, you'll take something else besides the Hunter deck. He was one of the few players to bring it to Fall Playoffs and the only player to bring it to Fall Champs. So, Kill Command used on a Doomsayer. Got to feel pretty good for BloodTrail to not have to worry about that card, but Hatul just trucking away. Freezing Trap is going to block this Mount Giant as well.
One of the big things I've noticed about Hatul's play with Spell Hunter is that he utilizes the hero power a lot, and I feel like that's a mistake I've seen a lot of players make with this deck, is that they don't utilize the hero power enough. One of its key tools is being able to tempo the board position and pick up the extra damage with hero power. People have become so focused on board development that they often forget that that's a big factor with this deck. So I love to see Hatul weaving in those hero powers when he can and then paying heavy attention to the board because he's got access to additional tools later on.
Love to see Skulking Guys come down pretty soon here for BloodTrail. This turn not really slated because he knows that he wants to put something valuable into that Freezing Trap because he pretty much has the hard read at this point that that's what it is.
Yeah, a couple copies of one copy of Demonic Project in BloodTrail's deck as well. Transform a minion in your own hand into a random demon.
Yeah. Not the best uses for it in this scenario. That's an interesting trade.
Yeah, I think it's quite necessary because it puts BloodTrail in a position where he knows that the Shroom Brewer is going to pop his Freezing Trap effects, which means that the Mountain Giant will not be able to just run right over this Misha and then be able to be healed the following turn. This puts pressure on it to have to trade instead. So the question now for BloodTrail is save the Mountain Giant and replay it for 5 mana, or use the Shroom Brewer, put it back in hand, trade off the Mountain Giant. This is the one situation where I think BloodTrail can actually take advantage of Freezing Trap. That's really like the mini game of Freezing Trap. It's just how do you take advantage of it? See players a lot of times just wait and they wait and they wait.
The healing could be pretty useful.
Well, he is at 16, and he knows that Hatul's going to keep pressing that hero power. He knows he's going to get chipped away, and he knows that in combat, his minions are not the strongest. And honestly, how much have you practiced specifically against this deck? if you're BloodTrail. I think this turn looks fantastic as well because it gets the Mountain Giant developed. But at pretty much every single step of the way, BloodTrail's big minions have been checked, and that's a big point for Hatul.
Yeah, but the one thing that Spell Hunter has traditionally struggled with is the fact that it just doesn't have a reload. Rockdalar is the only potential source of reload. A lot of times they have to use multiple cards as ways to remove big minions, and BloodTrail has no shortage of big minions in this matchup. So, but this will be a full clear on the larger minions. Plus, he'll get to keep his Leok or a Hound around, but I imagine Leok's the more valuable minion in this case. Well, I guess he gets to keep both around, but they'd be at 2 health. I don't know. That's
I like keeping the extra minion personally. And I like the extra minion because it's an extra minion. And with BloodTrail is in that 15 mark, you know, maybe Hatul tried to go for read that there wasn't a Hooked Reaver since BloodTrail had an opportunity to play one, just didn't. But now the game is swung, and Hatul's going to have to rely on Wandering Monster. So you pretty much hit the nail on the head, TJ. Reload is where the deck has struggled. And that's exactly what Hatul's struggling with right now.
But if he's able to pick up Rockdalar or Deathstalker Rexar within the next couple cards, that could be what he needs. But that gives time for BloodTrail to develop this board however he so pleases.
Oh, big drop off. Hatul has gotten some pretty good minions off these Wandering Monsters.
King Mukla earlier.
Yep.
And now he gets the Devilsaur egg to be able to get the Devilsaur immediately.
Like, I honestly feel like that might have just been better than King Mukla because it stuck around as a 5/5. Didn't kill the Shroom Brewer, but
a beast.
Yeah, it's like kind of a weird dynamic.
Well, Mukla would have stuck around there too.
My 0-3s are always Alarmabot. Did have one stick around one time though.
Computing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Why don't you explain that situation in great detail for me?
Well, it summoned Witchwood Grizzly. That's about all the detail that is there.
Okay.
It promptly got killed. Followed by me promptly getting killed. But, you know.
Great detail.
Your magic shall not save you.
Yeah, BloodTrail recognizing he needs to start pressuring much sooner rather than later as well. Wise to make a trade here for Hatul as well. Wants to attempt to mitigate impact at the very least, and obviously needs to get the minions online. So that gives BloodTrail the idea like, hey, you know what? I need to kill these minions before I attack because this explosive trap, I'm pretty much just donezo if I just go straight face.
Yep.
So.
Hellfire would have killed off his own minions anyway, so... And that's the most underwhelming Wandering Monster we've seen from Hatul thus far.
Yeah, BloodTrail is going to heal back up to 15 and has a lot of pressure rolling. So, as you said, Hatul needed Rexar or Rockdalar in the next couple draws. And now I feel like that draw window might have passed. He gets to offset some of the damage here. But we're looking at a 2-turn setup here from BloodTrail. Hatul is going to need help next turn, or this is over.
Sequencing doesn't matter there because the Twilight Drake, if it had come down first, would have been damaged by the Dread Infernal. So
the difference here is that it's undamaged, but it can't be healed back up.
That's true. No Shroom Brewers left though.
Excellent point. Right between the eyes. Still by another turn.
Chipping away.
And notice BloodTrail has not played the Skulking Geist. He actually doesn't want to thin out Hatul's deck and give him a better chance to draw it.
Yeah.
Now with Hooked Reaver drawn, I think the ship has sailed.
Yep. Demonic Project! It's a better demon!
Your magic
It's a
shall
way
not
better demon. It's a
save
Lord Jaraxxus.
Yeah. This game was over anyway. There's To My Side. Or like To My Dead.
Yeah, good one, TJ. Game 1 to BloodTrail.
Nicely done.
So wild.
You know, sometimes that's just the choices that you make in life. But let's get into game number 2.
God. I don't know what it is about you and I casting Druid games this weekend, but they have been getting some fire hands, TJ.
Somebody shut that ramp up.
I love it. Look at BloodTrail's hand.
Yep.
Wild Growth, Bright-Eyed Scout. Let's see if we pick up something big into BloodTrail. Option for Coin Nourish Wild Growth into Wild Growth Draw. I'm sorry, into Nourish Draw. I mean, I guess he's just going to draw Ultimate Infestation in a turn and a half, but I don't really know. I mean, this is just crazy. This is how all the Druid games we've been casting have gone. But Hatul is not playing Malygos Druid. He's not playing Togwaggle Druid. He is playing Big Druid.
Yeah. 2 Primordial Drakes, a Lich King, 2 Dragon Hatchers, Hadronox, Master Oakheart, Sleepy Dragon, and Ysera.
Plus a Drakari Enchanter.
Plus a Drakari Enchanter.
To activate that Dragon Hatcher twice at the end of turn.
That's top end if I've ever seen it.
This game not going so smoothly, and Hatul can't help but have a sly smile when he sees the Wild Growth into Nourish Wild Growth into Nourish Draw. And his hand's getting quite heavy at this point.
Yep. This deck, you kind of got to win the old-fashioned way.
Dealing enough damage to eliminate your opponent?
Killing people with minions.
Very rare.
And those minions rarely get just kind of cheated out outside of Master Oakheart.
So BloodTrail now no longer has draw in hand, as his hand has become quite, shambled at this point. Not really a lot going on here. So this is the one opportunity, I think, for Hatul to get the ball rolling. If he's able to get out of this situation, say another turn or two without BloodTrail picking up something significant, that's where I think things can change.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, BloodTrail does have a big choice of his own at the top end. He's got a copy of Tarantus in the Malygos Druid deck as well. It's a card that its purpose is to be very strong against other Druids. Very few ways to interact with that card outside of minion combat, something that Druids are not, typically known for. It's more of a defensive class that uses spells to shore up the defense. Or the offense, for that matter. Pretty dead draw from BloodTrail as well. So, this is where the game's going to get tricky.
And Hatul hasn't been able to or BloodTrail hasn't been able to capitalize on the extra ramp that he had over Hatul. He's just kind of, made a few defensive plays in the interim. Wasn't able to get the perfect draw of, say, Twig with the double Nourish, double Wild Growth, or Ultimate Infestation.
Kind of a cool play for BloodTrail here to use the Dream Petal Florist, though. Like, if he picks up a Malygos or something, he's able to play the Floop Dream Petal Florist and basically get a refund on that. Doesn't get to duplicate the minion afterwards.
Yeah.
But at this point, BloodTrail's starting to play for his outs. All that early ramp without anything in hand to follow it up, I think is totally reasonable. If you get a power draw, you are way ahead at that point. If you miss the power draw, however, you kind of look back, like you were just mentioning. Wasn't able to capitalize on having that extra mana. Now you kind of look back and go, man, I wish I could have drawn cards off this. Maybe double Wild Growth would have been enough.
He played incredibly fast.
I would have too.
But when you're playing with just hot fire like that, you know that you're going to draw Ultimate Infestation.
Well, where is it?
Well, he didn't. But I have a feeling he knew that he was.
And Hatul, he's starting to scale out of this now. His deck is much more equipped at the top end to have high impact. Well,
Sometimes. 2 naturalizes in Hatul's Big Druid, but none of them in hand.
I'd be curious how much BloodTrail wants to either discount the Malygos and follow up big with it afterwards, or play the Malygos now and see if it survives. Playing it now, he would get a flooped Malygos as well later on.
With a discount.
No, the discount goes away. It shifts out of the discount.
But then he'd get a discount again because he has a Dream Petal Force on board.
Oh, that's right. In my head, that card just already died. Like, when I see that card, I just always kill it instantaneously.
Oh, it dies at the end of the turn.
Like, at the fact that it's still on board, like, I'm kind of looking at it, I'm like, I guess it did live. Like, what was it going to do? I guess swipe it is it. That card, in my head, never lives.
You're right, though.
But because it's
once
there,
it transforms into another minion floop, it loses the discount.
But that's the thing. Because it's still there, BloodTrail can take the risk here. That's exactly what he's going to do when the Malygos gets discounted. So now he's got, in one turn, A 2-cost Malagos and a 4-cost Malagos, plus 10 damage to all of his spells.
So,
with 2 spells in hand, that's just 20 off the Malagis alone.
Yeah.
4 from the swipe, 1 from the Moonfire.
Quick math, 25.
25 damage. By the way, 11 of that is to Hatul's board as splash damage. It's funny to me that the fluked Dragon Hatcher is just bigger than the Dragon Hatcher.
Yes, it is.
Well, hold on for this one. It's not going to be pretty. And honestly, that's probably why it's not going to be pretty, is because there's just so much stuff after that. Starfall, but no mana for it?
He can still swipe plus trade and completely clear the board.
Holy smokes. And you see Hatul, that is a look where it's like, oh, geez. This can't be good.
With Naturalize, he's out of Malagis.
Yeah, you got to kill the geese here if you're a Hatul. And at 9, honestly, with BloodTrail having basically no cards left in hand, he might be okay here. And so Hatul's going to think about it and go, all right, well, I want to naturalize my own Hadronox. Do I give BloodTrail credit for having AoE spells left in hand?
What to do?
Do I give him credit for having another Moonfire here? And I think you might just have to. You know, Ultimate Infestation's going to kill you too.
You have to naturalize.
It's just such a painful naturalize because BloodTrail's clearly been operating on low resources. Oh, brother.
Yep.
Oh, brother.
And he didn't develop anything but the Drakarian Enchanter. And with Ysera gone and 1 Dragon Hatcher gone and a lot of dragons being played already, the Drakarian Enchanter is actually not that threatening. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's that threatening from the get-go. So that bad boy is pointed upstairs and upstairs only. If he picks up Ultimate Infestation,
brother.
Fire.
Oh, brother.
6 damage next turn.
TJ, it's like you're just picking the cards that he's going to draw.
He's only got 6 left in his deck. Give me a break.
But what I'm saying is that it's like the first 2 off the top. Like, how'd you do that? Not that he drew them. It was the first one.
I mean, I said BloodTrail knew that he was going to draw Ultimate Infestation. And there's no armor gain. He needs to Wild Growth. Well, he can take the risk and just go for Primordial Drake, but that's just death sentence. So he needs Branching Paths? No, he only has 1 in the deck and he's used it.
He dead.
He dead.
Big Druid does not have as strong of a matchup in traditional Druid mirror matches. It's meant to try and prey on other archetypes. And in this one, BloodTrail had a spicy opening hand, but it was the Malagoose, the Floop, and the Swipe that was really able to make the biggest impact. You know, once you got to that end game with his Spell Hunter, that one's going to be tough. And with Big Druid. You know, I don't think that the Spell Hunter is that bad against Death Rattle Hunter.
You have to have early pressure, I feel.
Well, that's what the Spellstone's for.
True. Spellstone can ruin that deck state.
Oh, yeah. You know, the thing that BloodTrail's deck is weak to is a wide board state.
A wide board state that's filled with stuff that isn't either 2 attack or 2 health.
Yeah, this matchup, though, a lot of it does boil down to, as you said, Psychic Scream. It's the ability for Hatul to punish BloodTrail's board development in a manner that is very much a liability to BloodTrail's plan as well. When you stuff a bunch of dumb minions back into their deck, that delays them drawing the key cards. Hatul's got an interesting Control Priest deck as well. Atypical from what we usually see, and that's something he's been quite vocal about, is building decks to his style. 2 free from Amber. He's got a Cobalt Scalebane, 2 copies of Scaleworm.
An Alkanized Soul Priest, which is also something that we don't a lot of times see in the traditional Control Priest.
Pretty interesting attack here from BloodTrail. Doesn't want his Spiderbound to be damaged unless Hatul has to commit mana prior. To draw an extra card, which he very much will be interested in doing. and perhaps again. But Divine Hymn is a very valuable resource in Hatul's deck. It's got a lot of interesting combo mechanisms that can take place, as well as it being his lone copy of Divine Hymn as well.
Troll taking it slow.
I mean, not much reason to rush, right?
Yeah. The Priest does have inevitability on him with Shadow Reaper Anduin plus the Mind Blast, but that's still a ways away before they can. They have to play Shadow Reaper Anduin, then they have to play Alexstrasza, then they have to find burn damage, and all the while dealing with your pressure. So there's going to be some key pressure turns for BloodTrail where he needs to force Hatul to play something other than those cards that advance his win condition. He can't open up a free turn for Hatul to play Alexstrasza or set him up for a juicy Shadow Reaper.
Right. That's really where the pressure needs to come in. It doesn't need to come in early and often. It needs to come in at the right time.
Yeah.
And that time is, you know, like as you just said, with the Anduin turns, the Alexstrasza turns. When Hatul is able to make his big swings on the board, that's when BloodTrail really wants to be applying the most pressure. But he's got to balance that too. He can't just like, you know, put everything on the board and then just hope there's no Psychic Scream. It's got to be well timed.
This beast will not be tamed.
Kind of an interesting interaction with the Spider Bomb and Duskbreaker. You know, one of the big benefits of Duskbreaker is it actually leaves you a minion behind. Yeah. The chip damage in Hatul's deck is quite important, but the Spider Bomb means that won't happen. He won't have a minion left. Kind of a little unique thing, Alex.
BloodTrail picks up an extra copy of King Crush. That's just strictly a bonus. Because it was taken from Stitch Tracker, not tracking, so it copies the minion instead of just gets rid of the other copies.
Which Grizzly is just like a big missing.
I know.
Yep, and this is where, so, you know, Anduin, not necessarily the greatest versus Katharina. There's Charged Devil Sword, and Hatul is forced to take action in this spot. Notice that Anduin here, you know, might actually leave Hatul dead sometimes to cube and a Death Rattle activation. So he's forced to Psychic Scream. That's number one down. Now, same deal. Alexstrasza is a big one. Anduin's still a big one. But BloodTrail cannot punish the Anduin. However, he can threaten the Alexstrasza. So that's the question for him. How does he do that best?
It's a little tough, though, because everything in BloodTrail's hand is so expensive. All of his big pressure points are so expensive. And right now, he actually just doesn't have a way to put a lot of power on board.
Got to get a setup. You know, the Alexstrasza hits, you're going to have to take care of it. That's usually what the Rexar is saved for, is that position. You want to 3-3. You know, it's a baby Grizzly. It's a cub. It's a really key turn here for Hatul.
I was honestly thinking just Alexstrasza.
I was thinking about it, but I feel like you just want more stuff out.
Yeah.
Like, he needs board presence, and he needs to not take more chip damage, or he's going to start, you know, being in danger of King Crush actually delivering a lethal blow.
Yeah.
And so
this is for sure going to be Alexstrasza turn.
Well, I think that might be what BloodTrail's thinking, is that Hatul might have played Alex as that.
Yeah.
If he didn't, you know, now he's got the hero power cranking, start looking for life steals right away. He's got Hunter's Mark to take care of it. Yeah, it was just, I'm certain that was a snap bloat bat.
Yep.
Not a strong one, though.
And a Snow Flipper Penguin, I believe. Bag is actually quite weak. No additional benefit attached to it. No life steal. No poisonous.
Hatul, he, you know, Alexstrasza is a big pressure point, but I like the Free From Ember better for a couple of reasons. The big one to me is that he hasn't found Shadow Reaper Anduin yet. So if he uses Alexstrasza and then fails to find Shadow Reaper Anduin soon thereafter, it gives BloodTrail a lot of time to utilize lifesteal minions.
Yeah.
Not just to find them, but to utilize them. And I think that's really one of the big distinctions of that.
Also, by going with Free from Amber first, he gets a big minion. So if he does feel like his only play next turn is Alexstrasza, he actually gets to cash in on it right away. Chip off the armor and bring him down to 13, it would be with the Violet Worm. So
it's kind of an interesting one with the Spider Bomb. You know, the one thing I think BloodTrail does not want to do is use the tools that will take care of Alexstrasza and then have Alexstrasza become a major impact. And so how does he play around that? I think is really the big question.
Well, Mossy Horror does give him a full clear on the board, but actually goes with Devil Sword Egg.
And I like the egg because, you know, he needs to counter pressure as well. He's got to get something done to put Hatul to the test, or it's going to get snowballed back. Alexstrasza is such a major impact that he has to do something to try to fight.
Direwolf Skitterer, is that what I...
Yeah, I mean,
could also be Nesting Rock as well.
Well, that's the thing is, you know, he's clearly concerned about the board snowballing out of control. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
But now there's so much pressure on board, Hatul's got to be worried about the same thing. So he's played defense by playing offense.
Funny how that works.
You know, the face attack doesn't really matter for Hatul unless he's able to land Alexstrasza. You know, there's armor there, so there is a bit more relevance, I'd say.
He also just doesn't have either Shadow Reaper anyone or any Mind Blast.
Exactly.
To be able to close it out beyond that. So he's digging.
Yeah, making sure not to draw too many cards here as well. I mean, had a lot more card draw available, but, you know, hand size is an issue here.
Yep. One notable exclusion from Hatul's deck list is the Cabal Shadow Priest. For the potential Twilight Acolyte plus Cabal Shadow Priest deals.
All right, this board's getting wacky. There's Anduin. Another Katharina, and reminder, that was an extra King Crush from Stitch Tracker.
Yeah. So still the possibility is also Witchwood Grizzly. I believe there's one still left in the deck.
Whew. That is scary. And with Hatul seeing King Crush, I think this could be a bit of a trap if he's not mindful. Because that Stitch Tracker King Crush can just end up being a major surprise. You know, that's something that Hatul needs to keep in mind throughout this game. He may not have a way to play around it to a certain degree. That's always a possibility, but it's something he does need to account for. Second Mind Blast found as well. So Hatul's got the tools to end the game, but he needs the time.
The hot tools.
That was a tough joke to make.
Shadowy Brandon just does not seem good here at all. I'm honestly thinking Psychic Scream may have to be deployed.
Well, I could see Anduin. I mean, you do get left behind the worms as well, but if he's doing this, you know, clearly not Psychic Scream. I'm sorry, it's clearly not Anduin if he's making those attacks, I don't think.
Well, maybe he's thinking he wants to get value out of his minions that are going to die.
Quickly.
Yeah, this seems like a much better balance.
It's a pretty major board swing, honestly. Like the fact that BloodTrail now has 312 in the way to block damage, even if Alex was to come down, he's likely, I think, to start really pressuring Hatul at this point, and he doesn't necessarily have to use King Crush to do that.
Yeah,
it's such a big benefit.
Also, Akanai Soul Priest on the board, and with the Witchwood Grizzly in the way, he would have to trade both those minions in and then trade off his Akanai Soul Priest to be able to heal out of range of any damage from hand from BloodTrail.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. The Worm means that there's not really any board space for Hatul once he trades. and the minions don't really die off with the 5-4 and the 3-5. I think BloodTrail rightfully more concerned about how Auchenai can affect the board more than it is about negating the healing that Hatul would get otherwise.
Yeah. Putting 4 1/1s into your opponent's deck is always pretty enticing. But against
Hunt cube.
Yeah.
And that's the second Psychic Scream. You're not going to find a Shadow Visions and get another copy of it. I mean, this is big trouble.
Your Psychic Scream now you don't develop, and even the natural draw from BloodTrail at this point isn't even like the most threatening thing. It's the hero power.
The light has betrayed me.
I think this is as good as the Ando Eternities he's going to get. Yep. That cube is a lot of pressure. That threatens lethal. Hatul's got to react.
It's maybe a checkmate scenario, unless he Psychic Screams.
Which is, you know, basically a checkmate scenario.
Shadow.
We've seen Shadow Reaper Anduin and Shadow are dead, so if he Psychic Screams, he might even be free to King Crush.
Oh, he is certainly free to King Crush after that.
I think Twilight Acolyte may be the punish in that situation, but that opens up so much because he's got cube.
Yeah, it's not really punish. You can just cube it and then Shaw and then run the cube into the Twilight Acolyte after that. Get 2 more King Crushes and kill him.
You're right.
So Hatul's got to get aggressive. He says, you know what, I got to take the risk of dying to King Crush. And that's exactly what he's got. BloodTrail 3-0 over Hatul, makes it out of groups and will find himself in the quarterfinals on Saturday.
Honestly, BloodTrail right now just looks unstoppable.
Just such a good pressure plan from BloodTrail in that game. You know.